All right, everybody, welcome back to VA Claims Insider Mastery. Brian Reese here, the VA Claims Insider, coming at you. In this lesson, so again, we're in Module 1 talking about the strategy, and this is Lesson 4. I think this topic is going to blow your mind if you have never heard of disability benefits questionnaires before. But the title of this lesson is how to use DBQs, disability benefit questionnaires, to win your VA disability claim and get a higher rating. Okay, if you're here taking this course, it's very likely that you're either here to win and or get a higher rating. So if you're at 70, you'd like to get to 100. If you're at 20, you'd like to get to 70. All right, it's all about getting the compensation and the rating you deserve. That's why you're here. This is what I'm going to show you. Prepare to have your mind blown a little bit, because I'm letting you get inside the process, and I'm going to show you how you can use disability benefit questionnaires to virtually guarantee a higher rating. And oftentimes, if you do this correctly, you won't even need a compensation and pension exam. The VA will just approve it, whether it's an increase or a new disability, based on the DBQ submission alone. Okay, we're going to do some on-screen teaching in this as well. So lots of questions I get. Veterans will come to me and say, hey, Brian, what is this disability benefit questionnaire you're talking about? And why should I do an independent psych eval with your doctor? So all the DBQs are, in a nutshell, just like when you were in the military, when you had to do standardized documents, standardized forms, those types of things. So all a DBQ is it was the VA's attempt to level the playing field, so to speak, because what they were noticing was a lot of veterans with various levels of conditions were being rated very differently, and they shouldn't have been, right? So somebody with very similar symptoms of PTSD, one veteran was getting 70%, and one was getting 30%. Okay, so the VA took a look and said, what if we developed a way and a process across some of the most commonly submitted for and claimed disabilities where the veteran can have more control over the medical evidence and the disability process, so that when it comes back to the VA and the VA rater, they know exactly what they're looking at. They're following the same standard forms they're using for other folks, and potentially they can get it done faster. Okay, so standardizing the ratings based on severity of symptoms, and speeding up that evaluation. So that's really what the DBQs are. They came into existence a couple years ago, and there's now more than 70 of them. Okay, so what's interesting here is you see there in that second bullet where the VA talks about you can have your private provider complete the DBQ for a veteran or a service member, versus having an evaluation at the Department of the Veterans Affairs facilities. That's sort of true. So sometimes, even with a disability benefit questionnaire that you complete and you take to a private doctor, say your primary care doctor, even when they fill that out and you turn that in with your claim, what's still happening is the VA is coming back saying, okay, we're still going to schedule you for a compensation and pension exam. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get out of that. However, if they're done correctly, I've seen it happen more often than not that the VA will just rate your claim, get the rating right, and do it done faster by using the DBQ you submit. Okay, so that's really what the DBQs were and how they came about. So what's the big why? Why were they developed? It was all about the VA's trying to get faster. They're trying to streamline. They were trying to get more consistent with how veterans were being rated. And they really wanted to give us as veterans more control over the medical evidence and the information involved in the support of our various disability claims. Okay, so I get this question a lot. All right, Brian, you've told me about disability benefit questionnaires. Who can sign off on them? Who can complete them? In general, you need some kind of an active medical license, okay? And at the end, they have to, whoever the provider is who signs this for you, they have to wet sign, and they have to attest to the medical condition on the DBQ. So again, it helps if you've had a previous diagnosis of a disability, and then you're simply taking the DBQ to a private doctor saying, here's my medical record, here's the previous evidence, here's where it said I had this disability. I really just need you to fill this out and sign because I'm submitting for VA disability benefits. So again, this can be done by the private treatment provider that you have, whether you have a primary care doctor or a PA, physician's assistant, or maybe a nurse practitioner. It says on here, right, that it can also be filled out by the Veterans Health Administration clinicians, the VHA. I put these two sub-bullets in here because I know how awkward this can be, where sometimes you're being seen at the VA and it's almost like you feel strange or weird asking someone from the Veterans Health Administration to fill this out for you and to sign it. Sometimes they won't. For whatever reason, they won't. Professional reasons, personal reasons. I've seen where a lot of physicians, private and VA, are hesitant to fill these out. And I think the main reason they're hesitant is because they don't know what they are, and they don't really know why you're coming to them and asking for you to do this. So again, like I've told you, you are a VA Claims Insider now. You're in the Mastery program. We have doctors. We have 2 PAs who work on our team. They're also service-disabled veterans, so they get it. They understand this. And we also have a U.S. board-certified psychologist who is a Vietnam veteran who does all of our independent psych evals and our DBQs for mental health conditions. So if you need them, again, reach out to us. I'll talk about that later in the presentation, but we'll help you get your DBQs completed or medical nexus letters completed at a discounted rate, okay? How many medical conditions? There's a lot. I mentioned in the earlier slide, there's about 70, and they're all over the map. There's arthritis, cancer, there's sleep apnea, there's a bunch of different types for mental health, there's skin conditions, GERD, acid reflux, IBS. There's a whole bunch of them. So whatever the most common disabilities are, there's very likely that there's a DBQ for those. Okay. So let's actually go to where you can find these so you can see them. Okay, so hang with me here. And I'm going to show you on the screen exactly what these are and what they mean. Now, I've cheated a little bit because I knew I was going to do this. But all I did, guys, was I Googled disability benefit questionnaires VA. Okay. And you'll see it comes up. It's one of the first hits. Talks about what the DBQs are. But I'm going to click this one that says list by DBQ form name. Okay. Now you'll see when I pull this up, again, this is a VA site, and I'll zoom in a little bit so that you guys can see better. But it lists all the DBQs here by body part and body function. So cardiovascular, dental oral, dermatological, ear, nose, throat, endocrinal, gastro. You'll see that there's gynecology, there's infectious diseases, there's musculoskeletal, there's a whole bunch of disabilities that this covers. Let me see if I can get this page to load back here. If it doesn't, I will open up a new browser. Oh, there we go. And I zoomed in for you so you can see a little bit better here. So again, here's all the different conditions and what they might be used for. You'll see I had clicked this one. I actually have GERD, so I'm very used to filing claims for GERD and why you would want to do that. Again, here's some other conditions here. There's infectious diseases, musculoskeletal. Having lots of problems here, so I'm going to pull it up with a different browser. I'm going to do disability benefit questionnaires VA. See if this is better. So list by form name and see if it pulls up. Okay, here we go. This is much better. I don't know why I was having an issue before, but for some reason I was. Okay, so again, here's all the DBQs listed out by form name. And here's all the stuff that we're going to be able to do, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the disability benefit questionnaire for GERD, okay? So you'll see this is under gastrointestinal, and I'm just going to click it. I'm just going to open up a PDF, and we'll kind of walk through this on the screen, and I'll show you what all these different things mean, okay? So again, just a standard form, Department of Veterans Affairs logo on there, and it says esophageal conditions, including gastroesophageal reflux disease, GERD, hiatal hernia, or any other esophageal disorder, DBQ, Disability Benefit Questionnaire. Put your name on here, your social, and this is where it jumps into the diagnosis. So it's asking the doctor, hey, do you have a condition? Were you diagnosed? All right, so then you're going to say yes or no. Hopefully they say yes. And then you're going to go on to some kind of a diagnosis. So let's say they do GERD, and then they do something like G70.224 or whatever. Those are all ICD codes, and then the date of your diagnosis that tie to something under the law for the VA, okay? And then it asks some questions about your medical history, your signs and symptoms. This, though, and why I want to show these to you on the screen, and I'm going to do the one for post-traumatic stress disorder review as well so you can see it, okay? So take a look at this. Persistently recurrent epigastric distress. So it says, do you have these signs or symptoms? Yes or no? The answer is yes. Okay, how severe? So there's a big difference though, right? If somebody checks 1 or somebody checks 4 versus 10 days or 4, that's indicating very severe symptoms of GERD. Now, why this is important, of course, is because the more severe your signs and symptoms, the higher rating you're going to get, as long as you can prove it. Okay, and I'm going to show you that with the DBQ for PTSD. Asks about any anemia, weight loss, nausea, vomiting. Goes into, have any other tests been performed, any other issues, scarring. Have you ever had an endoscope? And so it goes into some testing. Then it talks about your impact, right? So does this impact your ability to work? If yes, say what it is. You may say something like, hey, because of veterans' severe GERD, he has shown evidence of increased sick leave, okay? Or something like that. And then there's a spot for remarks. Most important part, of course, physician's wet signature. So have them print this out, sign it, put their name, the date they signed it, as well as their fax and phone, their national number, their national provider identifier, NPI, that identifies them by physician and location, as well as their address. Okay, so what the heck are you going to do with this? Don't worry about where it says physician fax the completed form back. You're not going to worry about that. If and when you get one of these completed, once they sign it, you're going to take it from them, scan it back in electronically, and then you're actually going to upload this to your VA disability claims file as evidence directly on the eBenefits website. Okay, I'm going to show you that in detail in Module 2, which is all about the tactics. Okay, so this was the DBQ for GERD. Most of them are about 5 pages. Some are longer, some are shorter. But what I'm going to go back to do now is I'm going to show you the mental health DBQs. Okay, so again, this is listed by body part or function. Musculoskeletal, neurological. Okay, so we're going to go to psychological, and I'm going to open up the review for post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, I'm going to make an important note here for you guys. If you've never had an initial rating or evaluation for PTSD, you cannot do a DBQ for those from a private doctor. You have to get an initial diagnosis of PTSD from a doctor at the VA, from a U.S. board certified psychologist or a U.S. board certified psychiatrist. So if you think you have PTSD and you don't currently have a rating and you're a veteran, you need to pick up the phone, call mental health, the VA clinic mental health in your area, and book an appointment with them and start the intake process. Because if and when you go to file an initial claim for PTSD, the C&P exam, the compensation and pension examination, is going to be conducted by the VA, by a VA rater. Okay, that's in the law of why they have that. But you'll notice 3 here: eating disorders. This is for all other mental disorders other than PTSD. And then this is the review for post-traumatic stress disorder. So what this means is, like, I'll just use myself for an example. Let's say I have PTSD and my initial or my current rating is 30%. Let's say I go on to eBenefits, I file a new claim, and I request an increase for PTSD, meaning I think my symptoms have gotten worse, and I'm requesting an additional rating and additional compensation. What I can do is have a review of PTSD filled out by a private doctor, and then I can upload that with my claim, okay? So I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to show you something that's crucial that a lot of veterans don't know about. But you're an insider now, so you're going to learn. All right? So again, pretty similar: patient, veteran name, what's your social, diagnostic summary. Do you or have you ever been diagnosed with PTSD? Yes or no? Yep. Typically, you'll see something like diagnosis 1, PTSD, ICD code. It'll be like 309.21. The access category, this just has to do with your diagnostic testing. Typically, it's access 1 that's checked. But again, this stuff is not crucial, nearly as crucial as when I come down here. Differentiation of symptoms. So you may have more than one mental health diagnosis. So for example, you might have a primary diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder, but you might also have a secondary diagnosis of major depressive disorder, or perhaps a third level diagnosis of generalized anxiety disorder. Whatever the issue is, that doesn't matter for rating purposes. The VA is only going to rate you once. Okay, so for mental health claims and for any other disability, it comes down to severity of symptoms. And for mental health and PTSD, it comes down, bottom line, to the level of occupational and social impairment. Occupational meaning, how do your symptoms affect you at work, if at all? And social impairment, what has it done to your life? Divorces, trouble working, trouble with relationships, trouble getting along. Maybe you don't have a lot of friends. Maybe you've had family problems. Okay, that's what they mean by social impairment. Now, I want to key in on these because I want you to notice the keywords. No mental disorder diagnosis. A mental condition has been diagnosed. Occupational and social impairment due to mild or transient symptoms. Occupational and social impairment with reduced reliability and productivity. Okay, you'll notice it kind of goes from no diagnosis all the way to total occupational and social impairment. This means literally you cannot function without help. You can't work, or you're having very severe symptoms. You're having major social problems. Perhaps you have to have a caretaker. Okay, so the spectrum here is severe. But I'm going to show you something that you might not know that is crucial. Okay, I'm going to go back to Google. Remember we talked in an earlier lesson about the ECFR. ECFR, Title 38, Part 4, the schedule for rating disabilities. Okay, this is the law, gang. This is the law that governs disabilities. All right, so I'm going to pull this up, and I'm going to show you something that I really want you to pay attention to. And again, we're going to go through this in detail. All right. Now I'm going to hit Control F. All right, you can do that with me right now. Hit Control F, and then you can search the text. And I'm going to write mental disorder diagnosis. Okay, so I want to go to the schedule of ratings for mental disorders. Now take a look at this, gang. General rating formula for mental disorders. Look at this word. Total occupational and social impairment. 100% rating. Look at 50%. Occupational and social impairment with reduced reliability and productivity due to symptoms such as flattened effect, circumstantial, circulatory sleep, stereotype speech, panic attacks more than once a week, difficulty understanding complex commands, impairment of short and long-term memory, all the way down to 0. Mental health has been diagnosed, so there's no issues. Take a look at what happens. Let's go back to that DBQ. They exactly align, right? Literally, they exactly align. So check out this one right here. Occupational and social impairment with deficiencies in most areas, such as work, school, family relations, judgment, thinking, and or mood. So let's say whoever fills this out checks that block for you. Look what it ties to under the law. Occupational and social impairment with deficiencies in most areas, such as work, school, family relations, judgment, thinking, or mood. Okay, gang? So what you can see here is this is like your playbook for actually specifying the rating you think you should have. Now, obviously, this needs to be true. I'm not telling you to lie or stretch the truth. You have to be truthful and honest about this. But this is a way for you to get ahead of the game and level the playing field, so to speak, with the VA. If you think you should have a 70% rating, you should have this block checked. Now, granted, there's some case law that says you can have this block checked. That's technically the 50% level. But perhaps you have the majority of your symptoms are at the 70% level. Okay, so maybe the rater checked this, occupational and social impairment with reduced reliability and productivity, but most of your symptoms are here. Suicidal ideation, obsessive rituals, near continuous panic, depression. All right, you're going to get the higher rating. That's under case laws, they're going to grant the higher rating. Okay, but you'll see how crucial that is. All right, and it talks about some of the other findings. What's your relevant history? Was PTSD pre-existing? Did it happen because of combat? Here it talks about some of the traumatic exposure and the symptoms. Okay, depressed mood, anxiety, suspiciousness, panic attacks more than once a week or near continuous, sleep impairment. There's a whole bunch of them. But again, now I want you to see this. Okay, a nurse practitioner or a PA or just a general doctor cannot sign mental health DBQs. It has to be a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Okay, US board certified is preferred. And then the same process goes. Okay, you're going to want to get this wet signed, scan it in, and you're going to upload this to eBenefits as a crucial piece of evidence. Okay, hopefully that was helpful. So now we're going to go back here into the slides. So this is what we just did. Talked about some of the benefits of DBQs, right? It simplifies this. So by completing the boxes and the evidence that the VA needs, the VA rater needs to make a decision, you can get a rating faster and you can get a more accurate rating for your condition. All right? I like the sounds of that. Remember the title of the slideshow? How you can use DBQs to win your disability claim and get a higher rating. That's exactly what we're showing you to do. Okay, disability benefits questionnaires and fully developed claims. I talk in another section about the different types of claims, but in general, there's two types. There's a standard claim and there's a fully developed claim. DBQs are especially useful for fully developed claims because when you submit a fully developed claim, you're telling the VA that they have all the evidence they need to make a rating decision in your case. Okay? I prefer to do fully developed claims because, again, it makes you have control of your claim as the veteran. You're not relying on the VA to go look for bits and pieces of information, to go hunt down medical records. You're giving them everything they need up front, saying, here's my medical records, here's my evidence, here are my DBQs, here's my personal statements, here's my buddy letters. Use what I've submitted and what I've submitted alone and make your rating decision. Okay? I talked briefly about the mental health DBQs, but here are the folks who can actually administer and examine and sign your DBQs. Board certified, board eligible, licensed at the doctorate level. I recommend, though, to hold as much weight as possible, go with a US board certified psychologist or psychiatrist. Okay. All right, so we already did some of these real examples of DBQs. We went on the screen, I showed you the GERD DBQ, and then we went through the PTSD review DBQ. But there's all kinds, right? There's 70 of them on there. If you want to print them out, download them. If you want to pre-fill them, I recommend you pre-fill them out for the person you're going to have sign. And check out Bullet 2. Need help? This is what we do inside our next level program, which is called VA Claims Insider Elite. Okay, this is our done for you program. We actually have doctors who will review your medical records and provide and sign DBQs and medical nexus letters if you need them. So if you need service connection, we'll help you get a medical nexus opinion if you're having trouble getting those done. And we can also get your DBQs filled out and signed, whether you need them for mental health or whether you need them for some other condition. So again, these are at discounted rates for you guys because you're in the VA Claims Insider Mastery program. So you're going to get super cheap rates. I'll give you an example. If you search online for doctors who will do medical nexus letters, you'll find a few out there. Some of them charge $1,000 per nexus letter. $1,000. Okay, and that's with no guarantee that it's actually going to help. Our doctors, we're going to get them to you for $100. DBQs, there's lots of people out there who will do DBQs for $200, $400, $500. Our doctors will do them for $50. Okay. Also, if you need a mental health DBQ or a mental health nexus, we can help you with that. We've got a U.S. board certified psychologist and a veteran who works on our team. Okay, so shoot us an email there on that third bullet, support@vaclaimsinsider.com. Let us know, hey, I'm in the mastery program. Brian and team, here's what I need. I'm really trying to get a nexus letter. I can't get one for my sleep apnea. The VA has already denied me once for service connection, and I don't want to be denied again. Okay, support@vaclaimsinsider.com. All right. As always, thanks all for your service, and God bless you and your family. Hope you found this valuable. This is such a crucial topic. A lot of veterans don't even know about DBQs, but I'll tell you what, if you want to get inside the process, if you want to beat the VA at its own game, if you want to get the rating you deserve faster, get DBQs. All right? Now you know where to do it. So now thanks for hanging around. Again, I'll see you in the inside of lesson 5 next. And we'll wrap up module 1 and move on to module 2. Okay? Talk soon, y'all.